Okay, today I'd like to talk about emotions and emotional resistance and how I got under some of that as I was going on about my path. When a strong emotion comes up, we tend to grab on to the thoughts immediately. Thoughts feel like a safety. So let's just say fear or anger. We'll just stick with fear. So let's say fear comes up and there is a grabbing onto with a thought that says I shouldn't be here, or what if this kills me, or I don't like this, whatever the thought is. And then it says I'm afraid, or there's fear, or this is fear. You just know it intrinsically because of past experiences with fear. So then the thought fear comes up as part of the energetic experience. So when you're in this place, one of the main things I want to say about it is resistance is 90% of this. Resistance is 90% of what is causing you to feel the way you feel in the moment that an unwanted emotion comes up. You don't have any resistance to joy when joy comes up, but when any so-called negative emotion comes up, there's a lot of resistance that comes with the thinking and the thought that attaches to the sensations, the energetic emotions, energy and motion. So let's say fear comes up and immediately the grasping onto thought. Right there in that moment, there is a trying to control the experience of saying, I don't want this. Reality is showing it to you. How do you know reality wants to see it? Because it's there. And the initial resistance can be so strong and overwhelming because the energetic charge of that emotion can be so strong and overwhelming that the mind either says, I don't want this, or it says, you have to do something about this. And that resistance can show up right then and there, and it can feel very sandpapery. It can feel very like rubbing two pieces of sandpaper together, and that friction just gets overwhelming, and you feel like you don't have the capacity to deal with it. But that resistance right there, that resistance to either wanting it not to be there or the resistance of, I have to do something about this, is what makes it so hard to deal with. So a long time ago, when I would have these emotions and I didn't know how to deal with emotions, I would disassociate or I would distract. Um, and I would either, distract with distract my phone, or distract with a book or a video or a movie or just taking naps. Sometimes I would feel so bad that I couldn't do anything but lay down and just like try to go unconscious and fall asleep so I didn't have to think about what I was thinking about because I was letting thoughts control that experience. So when it starts to come up, if you can get very still and watch what's happening in your experience, you can get under this and you can pull the stickiness of thought away from the energetic expression of the sensation. So when a thought fear comes up and whatever the thoughts associated with it, you can see them. You can see them directing you, telling you what to do, but you don't have to go into the thought loop with them. You can stay right here in presence, and you can look through what I would call looking through reality's eyes. which means not going into the thought loop and just being aware of what the thought loop is trying to formulate, trying to get you to go with. By doing that, staying, it's not necessarily that you strip the word of its meaning, but you allow the word to be there and you strip it of its attachment to the sensation, to the actual energetic happening. So in one sense, from reality's eyes, you are looking at the thought and you are looking at the sensation separately. When you go into a mind loop, you automatically are fusing both of those together. And then it makes you feel panicky or fearful or angry or whatever the emotion is. So to separate the thought from the energetic expression in reality is to look closely and start to pull it apart. Now, all this stuff happens really fast, and the way I'm talking about it, makes it appear like you can do this, like you can't do this in the moment. But the more you do this, the more you practice this, time will slow down in your experience, and you will be able to see, because concentrated attention and on awareness of what's happening does cause time. It makes it feel like time is slowing down and creating a space to look. And that's what I would call seeing through reality's eyes, or empty looking. If you're looking through the thought loop, then you're kind of not really looking at all, right? You're lost. You're lost in it. And only afterwards, when you come out of it, did you realize what had happened. But if you really are earnestly wanting to look at this and you keep your eyes open at the time it happens, you can get under this and start to see it. So once you've separated the thought from the energetic expression, then, there's different ways of talking about this. Some people talk about it in shadow work where, they say, locate the energy. Where's the energy at in your body? And somebody will say, oh, it's in my chest. And they'll say, take your attention to your chest and try to feel where it's at. And I'll try to go there, put your attention there, try to go to the center of it. Feel it from the center of that. And then they go from there and, what does it feel like? What is it moving? What's it doing? That's one way to approach this. A way that I learned to do it for myself that I like is, it's more like a hands-off approach. So when the fear comes up and I watch the thoughts, I'm able to separate them enough that I can go more into the energy. When I feel the energy, it's more like dropping your shields. It's like it's allowing reality to do what it does. So much of this whole path is just grasping. It's grasping at control, desperately trying to control what's happening, or to say, no, it shouldn't be here, or no, I want something else. It's a big fat no. So if you can get to the point there where you acknowledge what's happening, I feel fear or I feel sadness. First, acknowledging it is giving sort of the mind its expression of like, I have a right to feel this. You're giving yourself permission to feel what you feel. Then accepting it is accepting the thoughts and accepting the emotion, but also separating them from each other so they can be looked at separately. But when you want to feel the emotion directly, then you drop the thought as best you can. Even if it's appearing, you're just not giving it the attention because you have the awareness to look at both. You're just not giving that attention. You're putting that attention into the emotion. And then you drop your shields where it's like, I'm not going to do anything with this emotion. I'm not going to grasp onto it. It's like letting it take you over. And that can be scary because it's not a feel like there's no filter there in between blocking that feeling. And that's what accepting is. So when you start to feel that, like I said, it can be scary, but also you can start to feel in that stillness, you can start to feel the resistance slowing down or dropping, and the grasping and the letting go, and separating the thought and the label. The label we put on the energetic expression is almost like a flavor. And by automatically saying this is fear, we've attached a label to this emotion because of past events or past expressions or what we've seen on our environment, movies, TV, what we were taught about what fear is and what you should do about it. But recognizing that as a flavor and how it flavors the energetic expression, you can then pull that apart enough to feel the physical sensations themselves in the moment. And by doing that, you recognize it's an expression of reality itself. And it's supposed to be there, and it has every right to be there, and it wants to be there, and it wants to process. So by dropping those shields and accepting some of that suffering immediately, you kind of can cut like 10% off there and give you some space to breathe while you're feeling that emotion, whatever it is, and spending time with it. This allows everything to quiet down in your system a little bit of stillness. You're not being caught in the thought loop and just going off into those thoughts. So acknowledging it, that it has a right to be there, then accepting it, then feeling it. So when it starts to take you over and you give it permission, there's different strategies for this too. Some, one thing that I did that I think is done in parts work and IFS and different things, but I did this many years ago and continue to do it. And I don't know where I got it from, but I don't think I got it from anywhere. But I brought the young me into the experience of now and allowed him to be there safely. Like so much of the circling and all the things we go, it's like you go into it's like you're going into the past to find that little kid who suffered and who maybe where this false memory was created or this trauma. But I think it's more like in dealing with the emotion now, I feel like it's more, I frame it as in reality, in presence that you actually are, you're allowing that young kid to come into this moment. You're bringing that memory here and the energetic expression here, and you're allowing it to be here. And you're essentially saying, hey, we're much bigger than we thought we were. We have the capacity for this. We are this. And you're allowed to be here, and you're allowed to express when you weren't maybe allowed to express as a young kid, and you had no protection, and you had to create protections. Now here in this space, I am you as an older, more experienced self, if that's the way you want to put it. And it's okay for you to express what you need to express. And you may talk to your younger self here and allow it to express. And I many, many times have allowed The emotion got stronger, or it changed flavors, and I would just allow it to take me over. And I would drop all shields, all grasping, all need to control, all thoughts about it should or shouldn't be here. And when you do that, you're feeling into it. It is very much a subtle, slow, still feeling into letting it in. It's not pushing, it's not grabbing, it's not forcing at all. If you do any of that, you're trying to control the experience. It literally becomes hands off. This can change the emotion very quickly. When when it becomes obvious that reality is then allowed to express itself fully without any resistance, it can come on hard and fast, but it can also leave quickly because it expresses what it needs to express and then it goes. But I've had sessions that would be 5 minutes, and I've had ones that would be in a complete hour of sitting. I think sometimes people, they get too in their heads about it, even if they're able to feel, and they say, okay, I've been here for 20 minutes, should be good by now. And then sometimes that's all the time you got, and that's fine. But if there's any part of you in thought arising that says, I need to control this experience, or enough is enough, then you're leaning back on the mind again. So you should let it have its due. Drop your shields and let it take you over. My favorite quote on enlightenment is by Anthony DeMello, and he says, enlightenment is absolute cooperation with the inevitable. The closer you get to immediacy in dealing with thoughts or emotions or sensations, the closer you are in step with what's actually happening. And that's how it works here. Without trying to control, without trying to move this experience, say it should or shouldn't be here, when that emotion comes up, you can separate the thoughts from the energy and go straight into the energy and the sensation itself. Then you are directly in touch with reality expressing as this emotional sensation, this energy. And when you get directly in touch with that without the stickiness of the thought being so bound to it, you will know it. You'll feel it. And it'll feel good. Even if it feels like the emotion is painful, you will be able to sit with it. And then once you realize that, oh, I don't have to do anything about it, and this sensation is absolutely okay to be here. You'll feel a difference. You'll feel somewhat of an insight of, oh, I can handle any emotion. In reality, in presence, this thing coming up is an expression of reality itself. And it's okay. And you'll get better and better at that. And more and more, you'll lower your shields more and more. Dropping your shield all the way at first might be too much. Allow in what you can allow in. Don't push it, but don't resist it either. If you can allow more in, then allow it. You can get quite comfortable with this really fast. And whether you've had a realization about reality or what you really are or not, doing this part of the process of shadow work will gets you closer and closer to accepting what is, or accepting the inevitable. And you'll be in more lockstep with life, and you'll be in flow and immediacy more and more. And then that will decrease your suffering. I hope that helps.